Okay, in this video we'll just try to start from where we left off in my previous video, where we have discussed like how to set up the logger, and also we discussed like how to see this payload, right, and how to analyze this payload. We discussed a lot of stuff over here, like session key, the configuration settings over here, everything, right? So in this video now it is the time we will build the TMDB. We will call the TMDB API and we will just see how we can manipulate the data and how we can get the data from this payload basically, and add this movie IDs to the TMDB list. Okay, so just to start over here, so first in the main method, what we will do is, if you remember, also we have created this new TMDB alert over there, right? And in that alert we have given three inputs over there: list ID, language, and the API key over there, right? So first we will try to get this input values in our script. Okay, and while doing that we will do it through the payload itself. Okay, so I'll just go over here. Okay, now first thing is you have to, this is our payload over here, right? So as I have shown you over here, if I just cancel it, okay, and if I just go to search and reporting, and our alert is logging all the data in TMDB underscore alert log, right? So we will go to index equals to underscore internal source, SOURC source equals to star. So it will be something like TMDB underscore alert star, right? I think last 24 hours we may not have. I just say last 7 days. SOURCE. Okay, it is internal. Okay, so last time it printed this particular payload, right? I have taken this payload only in my Notepad++. Okay, so now if you see, to get the list ID, API key, everything, right? So it's all under this configuration dictionary over there, right? So first thing I have to do is I have to take this configuration from the payload. Okay, so this is how we do it. So we'll write config equals to this guy payload dot get, okay, and the name of the key over there, the dictionary key. Okay, so we'll write configuration over here. Okay, so this will hold the config values, config key, config dictionary basically. Okay, now the API key and the list ID, it will be always, it will be part of this config only, right? And as we have chosen the default value of the list length, that's why Splunk is not sending that one, otherwise it should have sent that one as well. Okay, so similarly my API key will be API underscore key. I'll take a variable. Okay, so it will be config, this config over here, just now we have get from the payload dot get, the similar way. Okay, the key name over here, so the for API key, the key name is API key, right? So I'll write that one over here. Okay, now similarly for list ID, it will be the similar stuff, config dot get list ID. Now what is the name of that parameter? It is list ID. Okay, similarly for list language, I'll create a variable list lang config dot get. Okay, now what will be this variable over here? So if it, as it is not part of this payload now because I have chosen the default value, so we'll go to our savesearches.conf. Okay, so this will be the name of the key over there always. Okay, so list lang over here. Okay, so I'll just retry as admin. Now we have got all the inputs over here. Now we have to take the movie ID as well, because this movie ID only finally will go to that TMDB list, right? So movie underscore ID over here. Okay, now to get the movie ID, let us see where my payload this movie ID is stored over there. So movie ID is nothing but this ID over there, right? And this is a part of result dictionary. If you see it, right, this is the full dictionary, right? So what we will do is we will take the result dictionary first, okay, then inside the result dictionary we will take the ID over there. Okay, so this is how we will take first. So we will get the event underscore result here. Okay, so it will be not config.get, it will be payload.get result, right? Because this is the part of payload, not the config. So payload.result over here. Okay, now okay, so this payload.result will be the event result, right? Now movie ID will be the event result ID over here, right? So that means event result dot get ID here. Okay, so we got our movie ID over here, right? So now we have to add this movie ID to the TMDB list. For that, what we'll do is we will go to our TMDB website. Okay, we'll try to understand the API first. Now I'm explaining this one because this kind of scenario maybe exist for different kinds of APIs over there. Okay, so this will work as a reference in those scenarios. So in the TMDB website documentation API, you need to go to this API tab over here. Okay, and under the API tab there will be a developers resource over there. Okay, now let's wait for a couple of minutes to load it. Okay, now if you see it over here, there are a lot of APIs available over here, right? And the one we need is the list API. Under the list API, if you see, add movies is there, right? So let us see what it takes. So it's generally, the input is, the path parameter is a list ID, so, right? And the content type by default it is application/JSON and the character set UTF-8. Okay, and we need the API key as well, and we need a session ID here. Okay, so if we just go to try it out option over here, it needs a API key, list ID. API key we know, list ID we know, content type by default it has something. Okay, but we do not know the session ID. Okay, that means somehow we have to find the session ID first. Okay, so for that we will go to authentication over here. Okay, now if you see, the first thing is, how do I generate a session ID over here? Okay, I'll click on over here. If you see, the method of generating a session ID over here is to just first we have to create a new request token, then get the user to authorize the request token, then we have to create a new session ID over there. Okay, first we will do it from the UI. Okay, then we will do it from the code. Now what we'll do, so create a new request token over here. If you see the create request token, so we will just open it over here. Okay, what it takes only an API key. If I just go over here, so it's only takes a API key. So if I just give my API key over here, right, so I'll just copy my API key, whatever I have given it, from here to here. Okay, so if I just send a request, right, so it gave me a request token over there, right? So we will code it first. Okay, we saw how to generate a request token, so we will create a method now to generate a request token. We'll say def get request token over here. Okay, so what is requires? It requires a API key, correct? It requires a API key as a input over there, right? So what will be my request URL, my API request URL will be, so if I just go to TMDB website over there, right, so till this point is my request URL, and whatever API key value I am giving, it's a request parameter over there, right? So I'll just copy this guy over here. Okay, I will give this one, so this will be my request URL. Now parameters, so this is my parameter I am passing to this request URL, so it has to be a Python dictionary format. Okay, and what we are passing, we are passing API underscore key. Now this name has to be same as this guy over here. Okay, you have to remember that one. So API underscore key, and what we are passing, we are passing our API key, so that means the input we are passing over here, right? So we have a parameter over here. Now we will post the request, right? So we will take a response variable, and this is how we will post. We will be using the Python request module, so I'll just name it as req. Okay, we'll say req dot, now this is a post request, right? If I just go over, no, this is a get request, sorry, this is not a post, this is a get request over here, right? So I'll just go over here, request dot get. Okay, what it requires a URL. Okay, so the URL will be our request URL. Okay, it requires a parameter as well. It's the name of the input is params. Okay, if you see it is showing up over here as well. Okay, params equals to the parameter we are sending to this URL. So the parameter means what will be append as a query string over here. Okay, just like this one, the API key will be append to the over here. Okay, so this is the only one, right? Now so we send a get request, so whatever response we'll get, that will be stored over here in the response object. Okay, and as my default header value is, so if I just go to the definition, okay, it is I think sending as a JSON only. Okay, so we can convert it to JSON. So we'll just say response dot JSON over there. Okay, so okay, we'll save it later. So we got the response over here, right? Now what we need over here is the, so the response means this whole object over here, right? This whole object over here, it will have 3 keys: success, expires at, and the request token over there. So we just need the request token over here. That means we have to parse this response over there. That's why we are converting this as a JSON over there. Okay, so then what we will do is we will just take the request token from our alert. Okay, so request token, and what we'll say data, this is the dictionary, right? Now data is, right, the key name is this guy, request underscore token. Okay, so my key name will be request token over here, and this method will return the request token. Okay, so we created a method to get the request token over here. That means we have to first call it over here to get the request token over here, right? So we create a variable request underscore token equals to, we will call this method over here, right? We'll call this method over here with the API key we got from our payload, right, as an input, right? So we got our request token. So let us save this token generated, because we need it for later purposes. Okay, because we will first see it from the UI. So this is our request token. Okay, now we got our request token. Let's go back over here to this discussion again. Now it is saying get the user authorize the request token. Okay, now this is the important step, that means step number 2 over here. So this is how to achieve this one. With a request token in hand, forward our user to this following URL. this one. Okay, so that means the user needs to be for go to this particular URL, correct? Now if I just from the UI, if I just go over there, okay, so if I just go over there, okay, if you see, it is telling me third-party authentication request. I have to approve it over here. Okay, that means authentication granted. So if until and unless you do that, you cannot use this request token over there for further purpose. Okay, now how to achieve this one programmatically? So for that, let us see if they have given something else. So they have given this one over here, create session with login. Okay, so if I just go to this request now, they are saying this method allow an application to validate a request token by entering a username and password. So this is the API to validate the request token with your TMDB credentials over there, right? So that means we can do it programmatically. We don't need to go to over here and then click on this allow button over there. Okay, so we'll first go to try it out. We have our API key over there. Okay, so this is our validate with login. Now we have our API key. If you see, it is asking you for the username and password and the request token. So I'll give my username here. Okay, I'll give my password over here. Okay, and I'll give the request token I generated previously over here. Okay, if everything goes fine, I'll get a success message and I'll see. Okay, if you see success equals to true over here, and the same request token it returned me as well. Okay, that means it allows the request token to for use. You can use that request token now. Okay, so the same thing we'll be achieving now through programmatically, right? So what we'll do is we will create a method over here. So we'll create a new method now, def validate with login, correct? So what are the things it requires? It requires an API key, right? It requires a username and a password and the request token over there, right? So username and password, you can send it to this one as an input, or you can keep that username and password in a conf file and save it. Now just to make things very simplistic, what I will do is I will just hard code that username and password in this method. So that's why I'm not providing as an input over here. I'll just take API key and the request token over here as an input, username and password I'll be hard coding it over here. Okay, so similar stuff, what I'll do is over here I will copy this 4 lines over there. Okay, I'll copy this 4 lines. So my request URL, what will be my request URL this time? It will be from this till this, right? Because API key is my parameter. So I'll just save it here. Okay, so this will be my request URL. In the parameter, I'm still sending my API key over here, right? Now in the request body, I'm sending 3 stuff over here: username, password, and the request token. Now here the extra thing we have to create is the request body. Okay, for that we'll just create the body as a Python dictionary. Okay, so what will be my body structure? So it will be username, there will be a key, correct, and the value will be my username, right? I'll just copy it from here. Okay, and the second key will be my password over here, and the value will be my password, right? I'll just copy the whole stuff. And the third thing will be the request token over here, right? And there I have to pass the request token I got from this method, right? So that means I am just giving an input over here as well. So this will be my data, that is the request body over here, right? Now when we, and this is what kind of request? This is a post request, if you see it over here. So what I will do, request dot post here, URL will be our request URL, params will be these parameters, and the data, that's the body of the request, will be our this data, correct? So this is how we pass the values in the request body. Okay, similarly data will be as response.json, as a JSON format. We will take that output, and what the things we need, we'll just check whether it's a success or not, because it is already providing the same request token over there, right? So if it is success, then only we will go ahead, otherwise we will not go ahead. Okay, so we will just take, let's say we'll create a value called is validated. Okay, we'll say data is a dictionary, and the dictionary, the value we will take is this guy over here, success, correct? Success, and we will return is validated. Okay, so we created a method to validate that request token over there, right? Now we will use that method below here. We'll create a value called is validated, validated. So we will call this method over here, correct? So what are the things it needs? It's need API key, which we got. It's need a request token, which we got from the previous method. We will pass it as a string over here. Okay, so that we don't mess up with anything. Okay, so we got the validation done. Now we will write a condition over here, if our is validated, right, double equals to true. It is sending either true or false, right? So if I just see the output over here, it is sending a boolean value over here, right? So if it is true, then I will do something, otherwise I will not do something. Okay, so I have to generate the session ID over here. I'll just keep it as a pass, then we will go over here. Okay, so again we'll go to session ID over here. Now we have done the step 2 over here. Now we will create a new session ID by using a create session method. Again, it's a post. We'll directly go to try it out. It needs a API key over there. Okay, in the parameter, and in the request body it needs a request token over there, right? Very simplistic structure. So we will just pass our generated request token here. Okay, we'll just send a request over here. Let us see what it is doing. Yes, it is success, and the session ID we got, right? So let us code it. Okay, we will create a new method now, def get session ID. Okay, so what are the things it needs? It needs again a API key, right? It needs a API key, and it needs a request token in its body, right? So that means request underscore token as an input, right? So again I will copy this 4 lines over here. Okay, till response.json, and we'll make necessary modifications here. So my request URL will be now from here to here, right? So this is my request URL. In the parameter I am sending API key, that's fine. In the data body we are only sending the request token over here, right? We are only sending the request token. So I'll just delete this guy over here. Okay, so this is my request token, and it's a post request, right? So post URL parameters data done. Okay, so now we will just take the session ACSSION session underscore ID, right? So it will be the part of the data, and then the key name is session underscore ID over here, right? So session ID, and we will return the session ID over here, correct? So we have done for the session ID as well. So we will call this method now over here, right? So we'll just say session underscore ID equals to get session ID, this guy, correct? It needs API key, which we are having it here. It needs a request token, which we are having it here, right? So now we'll do one thing. We have coded a lot of stuff over here, so what I'll do is we'll just print some things over here. Okay, after we get the request token, we will print it just to check it out we have done it or not properly. Even logger.info, we will have is validated, and we'll have session ID as well. Okay, so is validated here, and the session ID over here. Okay, now what we'll do is we will make a note of this one, because we have to do it from the UI, right? So this is our session ID, SESSION, session ID, right? Now we can send a request to this guy, list add movie, try it out. We have our API key, we have our list ID, which we have given as an input over here, right? So this is our list ID over here. So we will go over here. Yeah, this is our list ID. I just close it. Now content type is fine, API key we have, and we need a session ID over here, right? So let's copy this one and paste it over here. Let's say some media, it requires a request body, a media ID, that means the movie ID over here. Now for now I'll just keep the 18 over there. I'll just send a request. Let's see what is happening over there. Okay, status code is showing, okay, the item and record was updated successfully. Let us see whether it is done or not. We'll go to view profile, we'll go to our list over here. If you see under TMDB list, it is showing one item, and it has added that movie over there, right? That's cool stuff. So what I'll do is I'll just remove now, because we have to do it programmatically, right? So edit list, added items over here. I'll just remove it over here. Okay, so if I just go to my profile again, list over here, TMDB underscore list, so that is fine. Okay, so now the similar stuff, whatever we have done it over here, add item, right? We will now code it similar way, right? So we will create a method now, def add movie to list, correct? So this requires what? This requires API key, list ID, and the session ID, correct? And also the movie ID as an request body. So 4 things it needs. So first thing, it needs a list underscore ID, then it needs a API key. I'll just copy the I'm just giving a same parameter name over here so that we will not get confused. So API key, right? And it needs a session ID over here, correct? And it needs a movie ID over here, correct? So this is the 4 input it needs. Again, what I'll do, I'll just copy this guys over here. Okay, so my request URL will be from here till here, add item, correct? So I'll just update it, done. My parameters will be API key and session key this time. If you see, I am passing 2 things, API key and session ID over here, right? So API key is already there, so I will add another one over here. I'll just copy the same name. Okay, so session ID, the value will be whatever value I'll be passing as a session ID over here, right? So that's my parameters. Now in the data, what I am sending the movie ID, right? I'm sending the movie ID over here. So it should be the media underscore ID. So media ID, it will be movie ID, correct? So it will be my movie ID, and it's a post request with this URL, this parameters, and this data over there, right? And I'll get the data as response.json. I'll just return the data over here, return data over here. Okay, so now we will call this guy over here. Okay, we got our validation done, we got our session ID. Now we will call this method to add that movie to my list, right? So I'll just take the output over here. It's not needed. You can just do not return anything over there as well, but it's good to return something, okay, so that you can track it as well. So okay, what is the error it is showing? Unused variable. Okay, that's fine, we will be using it now. So add movie to the list. My list ID, I already got it over here. API key, I already got it over here. Session ID, I got it over here, and the movie ID over here, right? So we got everything. Now you may ask, like, we have two movie IDs over here from our search output, right? So I have not used any loop over here. Why? Because as I told you before, when Splunk called this script, right, as we have configured this particular alert as for each result, so what we will do, Splunk for each result, it will call the script over here. Okay, so that means with each result there will be a separate movie ID over here. That's why I do not need to use any loop over here. I don't need to loop over here. The loop has been done by the Splunk itself. Okay, so that you need to be, that fundamental stuff you have to be need to be clear when you writing this particular script. Okay, so hopefully you have written correctly, and let us see when the alert triggers how it's going. Okay, we'll just try to save it now, retry as admin. Okay, so we saved our Python file. So now as it is a Python file change, right, so it no restart is required. Okay, so now let us enable our alert over there. I disabled it just because otherwise it would have run every 2 minutes. Okay, because if you see it over here, it is supposed to run every 2 minutes now. Okay, we'll just try to go to edit and enable this alert over there. Okay, so now it is 9 o'clock, 9:01. I think we have to wait for another 1 minute for the alert to run. We'll come back after 1 minute. Okay, 1 minute is over. We'll just try to come up over here. If you see, it is already auto refreshed, I think. So if I try to refresh it, yeah, it added 2 items over there. So if I just go over here, those 2 movies now added to my list. Just to check it out whether those 2 movies are the one we expected or not, we'll copy this search, we'll run this search here. Okay, enter. Okay, so the one movie is Trouble, and the another movie is 7 Recons per. This is, I think this is some Canadian movie. So if I just see over here, yes, so those are the 2 movies it added to the list. That means the script is running fine. Okay, so this is just the example I have given. Right now, in your other scenarios, like in normal enterprise scenarios, you may be dealing with similar kind of API structure over there. Okay, what you need to know is first you need to see the API documentation, how it works, how to call different endpoints and what are the parameters and what are the request body we need to pass it over there. Okay, it should be written in the require API document properly. Okay, your job will be just to read the document and see what you need to pass. Okay, and you have to make sure you are passing those stuff over there. Okay, so hopefully this video is helpful. See you in next video.